Hello, everybody. Welcome to What's Up in Endo. My name is Bettina,
I'm Holly.
and today we're going to talk about two different issues, all within the endometriosis community. The first bit is about boundaries within the endo community. Um, so, when I say boundaries, what I'm talking about is when somebody helps you and like gives you advice on things, don't like take advantage of that, because just because they don't post on Facebook what they're going through, or their life stuff, it does not mean that that's the free sign on. It means they don't have anything going on and you can just unload and dump your shit 24/7. Or the other thing that's really messed up that goes on in the community is you don't hear from people until they are in crisis mode. How do you feel about that?
I feel like if I'm your friend, that's great. I will be there for my friends no matter what. But if you're messaging me at 3 o'clock in the morning and I've actually taken my pain medicine to go to sleep, maybe not the best time to talk to me.
Right? I get, oh my gosh. At one point, I had about 8 people messaging me when I was in the hospital for MRSA, which was like crazy. And it was like, oh, how are you doing? And I'd be like, I'm okay, which really I wasn't, but I'd be like, I'm okay. And they wouldn't have better enough sense than to just sit there and continually message me. And to the point where my nurse is like, I'm going to take your phone from you.
Yes, I've gotten that too in the hospital. I'm
Yeah,
gonna take your phone away from you because no, why are you messaging people still? When you make a post on Facebook and go, "Oh, I'm in the hospital," people should automatically go, "Okay, I should let this person rest." Not, "Okay, it's free game. I get to talk to them all hours of the night."
I thought like being in the hospital meant do not disturb with your bullshit.
Right.
But, you know, I've been told I'm a therapist that's not getting paid because of how many people come to me with their issues. And, they don't know my name until it's about what they want to talk about, which is totally disheartening and classless. And the first, and one of my pet peeves is I hate a classless bitch. It is the most disgusting thing ever to me.
Exactly. I can't agree with you anymore on that because it's just when you're coming at me at weird hours of the day, like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then the only time you want to have anything to do with me is when your life is going to shit. If you come to me at the good times too, maybe we can start a friendship. But if you're only
Right.
coming at me at the shit times,
Well, remember, I had the group and I had to keep saying that because I kept having people come to me only in shitty times. And I'm like, look, I'm not your Eeyore, okay? And you're not the cloud that follows over. So chill.
right?
And then another thing that gets taken advantage of is I say I'm always here for you, which I am, but have some couth,
Decorum?
yeah, some decorum, and know that, yeah, you don't see me posted on Facebook, but it does not mean my life is perfect by a long shot. And I don't necessarily always want to psych somebody through their life issues. I'm not getting paid for this, nor any benefits off of it. In fact, it's becoming like a black hole.
Yes. And just because somebody says doesn't post on Facebook and saying they're not going through anything, everybody goes through things. You got to keep that in mind. You can't just automatically assume because somebody's not posting about it that everything is perfect.
Hmm. So I think, it's good to go to your sisters for support, but you need to be real and, come from a place that's not selfish, that you only think that you have problems. That's just not realistic. We're all in this together. But hello, baby, I got problems too. And so does the next girl next to me. And I sure don't think that some person on Facebook is supposed to be my psychiatrist.
Right. Also, with this, with pain, with chronic pain and anything with anything chronic, you need to have a therapist that you can bounce your thoughts and feelings off of. An
Yes.
actual therapist that you go see, not somebody that you just found on Facebook that you just like to throw things at.
Right. I mean, another bizarre phenomenon I've seen within our community is it's not really a conversation, it's a talking at you, which is just bizarre to me. A conversation works. I say something, you say something, not, okay, thank you, bye.
I never experienced what I like to call drive-by talkings
Mm-hmm.
before until I got in this community. People not wanting to talk to you, and then all of a sudden they unload everything, and that's fine. They go off their merry way, and you're like, but okay, what just happened?
Right? So the next thing I'd like to talk about is fertility issues and or pregnancy with endo. Because I think it's really important because I come from the side of being able to be pregnant with my endometriosis and all my infertility issues, and the doctors never warned me of the symptoms that I was going to experience. And I think that needs to be said so that if another chick is pregnant with endo and she has some alarming things, she needs to know that it can be coming from endometriosis, and it's stuff that doctors don't want to talk about until you actually go through it.
Yes, and I come from the side of the exact opposite, where I wanted kids my whole life, and then when it came time to start trying, that wasn't successful. So, to start this off, would you like to discuss the different like problems that come up with pregnancy because of endo and
Sure,
fertility issues?
sure. Um, so when I was pregnant with my first, I had to have an emergency C-section because of failure of progression and severe drop in heart rate with me and my son. Um, I was not expecting that. Um, it was a very dramatic event, and like I went into shock after. So, yeah. But I now believe that at that point, I think something might have went wrong from the endometriosis, or it could have been the pitocin. We just don't know. Um, okay, so that happened, and then I was told when I got pregnant with baby number two, my daughter, oh, it's going to be easier because the first one is always harder on your body. You have pains. You have a lot of pains because you didn't know what to expect, and la 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 la. It's going to be easier, is what I got. Wasn't easier. In fact, my pelvic pain started to go through the roof. Not really bad, but bad enough where most of my pregnancy, I just had to take it easy. I was still going to school and everything, but I had to cut some of my classes because it was just too much. Um, at the end of that one, I ended up having a VBAC. I had a spontaneous delivery. I went from 2 to 10 in 2 hours, etc. Um, and that recovery was extra painful, and it shouldn't have been that painful because I had had a VBAC. It wasn't like I had a C-section, but it was really, really painful. So we moved to baby number three because like this is a progression. So that's why I'm going through all this. Baby number three, I had to have a high risk OB. I almost between baby number two and baby number three, I had really bad fertility problems. Took me about a year and a half to get pregnant again. And I was at the point where we were starting to talk about fertility medicine, which is when my GYN at that point was just like, you have endo. There's just no way around this. You have it. This is what's got to be causing your fertility problems. But when we were going to do that lap, I became pregnant. So we waited until after. But it was hell. My entire pelvic floor was on in like 100 pain level for the
Oh
entire
my gosh,
9 months.
that is horrible.
I thought I was dying. I was like, what did I do to myself? Because the other pregnancies, they were painful, but I had some breathing time, if that makes sense. I got hyperemesis graviderm really bad, so I couldn't eat for like 7 months. Um, and then I had a C-section, and they were in there, and they couldn't see endo. But I had a lap after, and the GYN that said all that, she's like, "You got endo." She's like, "It's just not manifested yet." So, fast forward to baby number 4. Um, how I found out I was pregnant is I was getting to go back in surgery, like 5 minutes away from surgery, to remove an endometrioma, and we couldn't proceed because I found out I was pregnant. And I'm telling the doctor, "You're lying. I've taken pregnancy tests. We got to get this cyst off." All this stuff, because it was 11 centimeter cyst.
No.
Yeah. So that my last pregnancy was very, very, very dramatic. So we started off with that cyst, and my doctor talked to me about having an abortion because my pelvic pain was through the roof at 6 weeks pregnant with the endometrioma. Um, but I told him I didn't want to do that. Um, it was a rough appointment because we went back and forth for about a good 2 hours. I ultimately won because I just stand my ground. Nobody's going to push me around. But it was a really hard pregnancy. I bled, which is how else I didn't know I was pregnant, because I had a period, and very painful period. At that point, we thought it was just from the cyst that it was making it so painful, but it was because of implantation and things not being right down there. Um, so it was very, very painful. I had hyperemesis graviderm for the entire 9 months. I had to be put on nutrition stuff to try and get nutrition, and I was put into high risk OB. I was in the OB emergency room every week from 21 weeks on down for severe pelvic pain and back pain. Um, yeah, that pregnancy kicked my ass. And so I went from baby number 1 to having moderate pain to baby number 4 to having a period every month for 9 months. The egg yolk that's inside was pushed anteriorly where it wasn't supposed to be. So I often had to go in twice a week because I couldn't feel the baby kick in, and they were afraid that it was gone. So I had to go in every 2 weeks from 18 weeks and up, because the egg yolk was in the front and it's not supposed to be in the front. The placenta came out messed up when I had my C-section, and the pain went post-operatively past the post-op pain. The endo pain is when it really started to kick my ass. It did not. Do not listen to these doctors and nurses who say, "Oh, pregnancy is going to help your pain." It's a total bullshit show. It did not help it. It increased it to the 1000th power. That's actually when right after I had my son, is when I had my laparoscopic with Dr. Childs, because it was just that bad.
And that's when they found out you definitely had endo.
Yes. Yeah, that's when they found out I had endo and IC, because I had kept UTIs during the whole entire pregnancy too.
That is horrific. I come from the complete opposite, where every time I got pregnant, I miscarried. I never went past 3 months, I believe.
Mm.
It was an interesting journey. I think all total it was like 8 miscarriages.
Mm.
But it was, I don't know. I never thought that it wasn't ever going to happen. I don't even know, even when I was having miscarriages, I was like, oh, it's just not the time. It's just not, the timing's not good. So, I don't know, it wasn't until the last time and all the mess with that because the doctor put me on Clomid and made me a raging crazy person. I don't even know what to say to that. Like, it just literally did. Like, it's, you're supposed to be taking fertility medicine to try to get pregnant when the last thing you want to do is even talk to the person.
I heard about Clomid from my birth boards. They still bitches after they got pregnant, so.
I took it for 2 months and then I had a nonstop period. It wouldn't freaking stop. And it got heavy and it was painful and I went in and he felt something and it ended up being a cyst. And then we went from there to the lab to everything. To finding out I had endo. To ending a lifelong dream of having kids of my own.
That's gotta be so hard.
It was, and I think that if he was a compassionate doctor, he probably would have given me more time in between finding out I had severe endometriosis and needed a hysterectomy to the hysterectomy. I had a month.
Yeah.
To get over something that I dreamt about like since I was like a kid,
Right. Right. He just hysterectomized you. It's really, really sad and disheartening that that's common, but it is.
And it happens. And I think that it's something that people don't want to talk about because doctors will push you into something that you aren't comfortable with. Don't let them do that. If you're not comfortable, go find somebody else.
If your spidey sense are tingling, you're right. Walk out the door.
Remember, they work for you. You don't work for them. So you can fire them and move on.
I was told that by my insurance. My own insurance, the cheapos, told me, don't let doctors push you around.
I mean, granted, I did have adenomyosis and all that, so it was the only option when it came down to it, what was going to help me. But it was the hardest decision I've ever had to make in my life, I think.
Well, yeah, it's like, it goes back to that saying, your life can change in the blink of an eye. I think we really went through like life changes in the blink of an eye.
Yes, exactly. I think it's awesome that there can be this massive like difference. That there's women with endometriosis that still can have kids. That's not a hope that you have to go, oh, that's never going to happen for me.
Right.
Because Tina is proof that can happen.
Yeah, and I didn't just have endometriosis though. We found out I had every infertility issue that I had clogged tubes, I had fibroids, I had adenomyosis, I had endometriosis. I had a couple of different things. I have endometriosis in my ovaries. So we still to this day aren't sure how I got pregnant. My doctor says it was God's will and that's the end of it. He said because
I'm pretty sure that's the only way to look at it at that point because it's like, there's 4 beautiful children here to prove that.
Well, he calls them 4 beautiful angels.
Yes.
They were meant to be here. So, just don't let a doctor boss you around because they don't know everything. Look at me. Even my doctor says, if I would have seen you before you had kids, I would have told you there was no way you would ever have kids. And look at me. I mean, sometimes too, I think when you stop trying, I know this is what happened between baby 2 and 3 for me. I stopped trying so hard, and that's when I got pregnant.
Yeah, you can't make it a job. It can't be like, oh yeah, this is our scheduled time, we got to do this. It becomes very boring really quick.
I I didn't know what was going on either, which is probably really good because when you start to know, sometimes knowing things causes you to obsess and you get
And stress out. And I'm pretty sure all that stress is not helpful.
right. Oh, I don't know if what I just said can give somebody some hope. I hope so because doctors don't know everything. They don't have the last word. And a real good doctor will tell you they don't know everything.
Yes, they will.
They will
And
not belittle you and gaslight you into thinking that you're crazy.
exactly. So if you have any like ill thoughts towards your doctor, just move on. Find somebody else. There's others.
Cancel his ass like Nino Brown.
Yes.
Cancel that ass like Nino Brown.
Yes.
Don't let him get rich off you. Don't take that laying down.
And if a doctor's pushing you into hysterectomy and you're not ready for that, remember, there's other doctors.
Any doctor. My insurance always told me I can go up to a 10th opinion if I wanted to. There is no stopping. It's all about you. Now, this is an insurance company telling me this.
Which is awesome because we don't ever hear that from anybody. That we're supposed to just move on and go get second opinions. You don't have to take one doctor's opinion for gospel.
I think my case got so convoluted when my husband was in the Navy that even the insurance started to feel bad for me because it was pretty bad. It was like nothing I think any human being in this life should ever have to experience coming from the hands of medical professionals.
Exactly.
But we won't go into the spill about them today. But I think next time I'm going to talk about how to effectively deal with TRICARE and military doctors.
Yes, that will be a good topic of discussion.
Yes, make that TRICARE work for you, bitches.
And if you have any questions, let us know at Endo Sisterhood at gmail.com.
Yes. And we also have a Facebook now. It's Endo Sisterhood. Please be sure to go by and like.
Yes.
We will be having a blogger handle that, and there will be a newsletter to come out soon. So please join us.
Be on the lookout for the newsletter and everything else with Fee.
Yes.
Until next time.
Bye.